How prediction changed fear. For most of human history, fear arrived without warning, because danger was something that happened suddenly, violently, and without explanation. To understand how prediction changed fear, we must return to a time when humans reacted only after something went wrong, when storms struck without notice, predators appeared without signal, and illness arrived without pattern or cause. In this world, fear was entirely reactive. It existed as a response to immediate threat, activated by the senses and resolved by action or escape. There was no fear of what might happen, because the concept of what might happen did not yet exist in the mind. Fear was immediate, it was physical, it was unavoidable. But slowly, humans began noticing signs before disaster. The sky changed color before storms. Animals behaved strangely before danger. Certain conditions preceded illness or scarcity. These observations were the first threads of prediction, connections drawn between present conditions and future events that gave the mind something it had never possessed before. For warning. At first, these signs were just observations. They did not reduce fear. They only made it earlier. The recognition that danger was approaching did not eliminate the emotional response. It relocated it in time. Instead of fear arriving at the moment of impact, it now arrived at the moment of recognition. The interval between warning and event became a new space in which fear could operate. Then something shifted. Humans began trusting signs enough to act on them. Preparation replaced panic. Anticipation replaced shock. The behavioral response to predicted danger was fundamentally different from the behavioral response to immediate danger. Preparation is deliberate, structured, and forward-looking. Panic is reflexive, chaotic, and present-focused. The shift from one to the other represented a profound change in how humans related to threat. Fear moved forward in time. This was not relief yet. It was transformation. Danger no longer lived only in the present. It lived in the future, imagined through signs and patterns. The mind, having learned to project threat into the future, could no longer confine its emotional response to the present moment. Fear expanded to fill the temporal space that prediction had opened. Fear stopped being a reaction. It became expectation. And once humans learned to predict danger, fear became something they carried even when nothing was happening. The mind, scanning for signs of future threat, maintained a level of vigilance that had no endpoint. There was always another sign to watch for, another pattern to interpret, another possibility to prepare against. As prediction became reliable, it began reshaping how fear was experienced, because once danger could be anticipated, fear no longer waited for reality to arrive. Humans started preparing in advance. Shelters were reinforced before storms. Food was stored before scarcity. Routes were avoided before threats appeared. Action moved ahead of consequence. The practical benefits of prediction were enormous. Preparation reduced casualties, preserved resources, and improved survival rates. The groups that could predict most accurately thrived. This reduced surprise, but also stretched fear across time. Anxiety replaced shock. Worry replaced reaction. The mind began living with danger before danger existed. The emotional architecture of fear, which had been designed for brief, intense encounters, was now subjected to prolonged, low-level activation. The body's stress response, calibrated for moments of acute threat, was being recruited for extended periods of anticipated threat. Prediction altered emotion. Fear became quieter but constant. Instead of brief terror, humans carried prolonged unease, scanning for signs that confirmed what they already expected. The quality of fear changed from explosive to chronic, from a spike to a baseline. This chronic form of fear was less dramatic but more pervasive, coloring daily experience with a persistent awareness of potential danger. This changed behavior. Caution increased. Risk tolerance dropped. Humans avoided possibilities, not just threats. The future felt heavier because it was imagined in detail. The predicted future was populated not with certainties, but with possibilities, and possibilities have no natural limit. A mind that can imagine one possible danger can imagine 100. An emotional response to each imagined danger, though weaker than the response to a real one, accumulated across the full range of predicted threats. Yet predictions saved lives. Early warning prevented disaster. Preparation improved survival. The benefits were undeniable. The tension between the practical value of prediction and its psychological cost became one of the defining features of the human emotional landscape. But the cost was subtle. When fear lived in the future, the present lost safety. Even calm moments felt temporary. Relief became fragile. The mind, trained to anticipate threat, could not fully accept the absence of threat. Prediction had taught it that danger was always approaching, even when it was not visible. Peace became conditional on the continued absence of warning signs, and the search for warning signs never stopped. Prediction had made fear smarter, but also harder to escape. As prediction spread, it began reshaping culture, power, and decision-making, because once fear could be projected forward, it could also be managed, amplified, or exploited. Those who claimed the ability to predict danger gained influence. Warnings guided behavior. Forecasts shaped choices. Authority followed those who promised foresight. The social power of prediction was immense, because the person who could tell the group what was coming controlled the group's preparation, allocation of resources, and emotional state. Institutions formed around prediction. Calendars, omens, models, and statistics organized action. Decisions were justified by what might happen rather than what was happening. The formalization of prediction into institutional practice gave a weight and legitimacy that informal observation had never possessed. Predicted threats became the basis for policy, resource allocation, and social control. This created stability, but also dependence. People trusted forecasts more than experience. Fear responded projections instead of reality. The authority of prediction displaced the authority of direct observation, creating a population that was more prepared for anticipated threats, but less responsive to unanticipated ones. Prediction also reshaped responsibility. When outcomes were anticipated, failure felt avoidable. Blame followed missed warnings rather than events themselves. The expectation that danger should have been predicted created a new form of accountability, in which the failure to foresee was treated as the cause of the outcome rather than as one of many contributing factors. But prediction was never perfect. Signs could mislead. Models could fail. When predictions were wrong, fear remained anyway. The emotional residue of anticipated threat persisted even when the threat did not materialize. The body and mind, having prepared for danger, did not immediately release that preparation when the danger passed. The gap between predicted and actual danger became a space in which anxiety lived without resolution. This created tension. Humans prepared for futures that never arrived while missing dangers that did. Fear became detached from actual threat. The correspondence between what was feared and what was real weakened as prediction became more elaborate. As the range of imagined possibilities expanded beyond what experience could confirm or deny, the ability to predict had transformed fear from an instinct into a system. And systems, once built, rarely let go. The climax of prediction changing fear was not safety, but persistence. Because once humans learned to anticipate danger, fear stopped leaving when danger passed. It stayed active, scanning, imagining, and preparing endlessly. The system of prediction, having been constructed to serve survival, continued operating even in conditions of relative safety, generating a baseline of anxiety that had no clear resolution. Prediction allowed humanity to reduce harm, coordinate responses, and survive threats that once arrived without warning. It made fear useful, but it also made fear permanent. Anxiety lived in forecasts. Worry lived in possibilities. The future became a source of stress long before it became reality. Today, prediction surrounds us. Alerts, models, warnings, and projections shape how we live. We fear what might happen as much as what is happening. Prediction changed fear from a moment into a mindset. And when fear becomes a mindset, peace requires more than safety. It requires presence. Sometimes the smallest shift in perspective becomes the beginning of a new future.